Welcome to another edition of Pinot with Pag and Panettiere, brought to you by the folks at N-able. We discuss the critical role that MSPs play in the small business ecosystem and where your business could be heading next to succeed. Got a question for us? Post it in the comments area and we'll try to cover it in a future edition.
John, great to see you. How you been?
Hey, Joe, nice to see you again. Happy summer. We've made it.
Yeah, we have made it. And I'm pretty jazzed about summer. The weather's really good here in New York. I'm on the road a little bit, traveling a little bit. But it's always nice to reconnect with you and touch base. You know, I was on the N-able earnings call. And, you know, I think most MSPs realize this, but I wanted to hammer it home and really explore it a little more. I think most MSPs realize that you're more than an RMM business these days. You highlighted the RMM momentum on that call, but you talked about endpoint detection and response, data protection, et cetera. So that's my long-winded way of asking. Tell us a little bit more about the broader portfolio. And then I think I may want to dive down into the data protection area, but start broader for us. Where is the portfolio at this point?
We had a strong quarter. We exceeded the top half of the guidance range that we provided, and we continue to really invest in the business to show that acceleration, because we believe there's a big opportunity in front of N-able, but also in front of the MSPs. So we have a mail security offering that actually just won an anti-spam award for being the one of the best offerings in the planet, to making sure that we have no false positives, are able to correct and block out phishing and spam. So we have a mail security offering, we have a password management offering, we have a strong patching engine, and we also have our PSA and a couple of other business management tools. You can ask any security expert on there and they'll talk to you about the proper hygiene, whether it's patching, whether it's MFA, and inevitably they're all going to go to, and in case all else fails, you need to be able to back up and restore and make sure that your data is protected. And we have a full suite in our data protection offering that is world class. And you touched on this, but even in the earnings call, I talked a little bit about our security and our data protection offerings continue to be strong SKUs, strong offerings to really round out the N-able portfolio, because MSPs are looking for us to help them manage, monitor, and secure. So it's all three of those fronts where our portfolio is trying to hit there.
Got it. Okay. Now, you know, I am familiar. I wanted to go a little bit deeper on the data protection side. I'm familiar that you guys have been in this market. You have MSPs that are on this platform, and it's a mature platform, but I also want to point out it's a modern platform and a newly branded platform, correct? I mean, what's with the new brand? Tell me a little bit about the brand story there and what you're up to.
We believe we have some of the best technology, some of the best minds, and the best offering for the MSPs in the market. And really, we're trying to bring that to light. And I could tell you the story, but I would probably not do it justice. A couple episodes ago, Joe, we brought the Godfather in, Mike Cullen, to help give some color into what we're seeing in the industry. And I got a special surprise guest for you today as well. We're bringing the Voss man into this conversation, Stefan Voss, and he is an expert in the industry on backup and data protection, an N-able employee and a great executive here. And I'm going to introduce you into the show and introduce you to the Voss man. So Stefan, say hi to Joe.
Hey, Joe. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Oh, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. It's great to have you aboard. Great to be catching up. You know, congratulations. I know it was a few months ago we blogged about your role at N-able. But for the viewers who may have missed that blog, I mean, surely everyone read the blog, but for, you know, the rare person who didn't read that particular blog about your role at N-able and what you've been up to since then, tell us a little bit. Where are you focused?
Yeah, thank you. And it's very exciting, man. First of all, very happy to be part of the family. It's definitely a very strong culture, very focused, right, on data protection in general, but overall on the customer, which I love. You know, and I think it was just very nice to actually also come into this role, knowing what I know about the architecture, which is really meeting these industry tailwinds about IT skills shortage. You know, the customers move to the cloud, a ransomware attack every 11 seconds, right? Very nicely. So it's a very contemporary solution, but it is also one that's supporting like 12,000 partners and more than 130,000 end customers, right? So it's established, but as John put it, it's the best kept secret. So I was very excited to be paired up with Chris to really evangelize and get the word out for something that's truly an awesome product.
Yeah, and give it, first of all, thank you for that, but give us some context. You mentioned quote unquote Chris. Now, we blogged about Chris as well, but what is his role, just for the viewer who isn't familiar with him?
That is a good point. So we're basically tied at the hip. I believe we do often, complete each other's sentences. It's a well-oiled machine, but Chris is really the general manager. So he looks at all aspects of the business, go to market, how do we selling motions and so forth. And I have the product hat, right? So it's end-to-end, sort of two in a box, and we're essentially responsible for this thing.
Yeah, and Joe, we forgot to mention this is a wine drinking show. So I thought it's a good way to me to kind of interrupt Stefan real quick. The wine that we're drinking today, folks, is Undivided. It's a Pinot Noir from France. And the reason we chose Undivided is because really with Chris Groot, in the general manager seat, and Stefan Voss in the product seat, they're giving undivided attention to the data protection story that our MSPs need to really make sure that their customers' data is protected. So I'm just going to pour a little bit of a glass and do a little bit of a cheers before we go a little bit further. But what Stefan and Chris are really doing is giving us that focus to our roadmap into what the customer's needs are to help them making sure that they can recover the data. People talk about backing it up, but what Stefan has been teaching me along this journey is it's just as important to recover and recover securely. But I'll take a quick pause and salute the guys. Cheers, Stefan and Joe. Cheers.
Cheers. Absolutely. And by the way, for those who are first-time viewers, we actually have a team of 20 or 30 researchers who walk up and down the aisles at these wine stores picking labels for us.
Very important job. Somebody has to do it, Joe.
Yes, absolutely. And for those who may be involved in that, a secret shout out. We do appreciate the very special person who actually makes sure we have wine for this podcast each and every time. But kidding aside, data protection, it is just front and center in every MSP's mind these days. So can you give us a feel, on the one hand, I had mentioned this is a mature product, but sometimes when you hear the word mature, you think, oh, wait a minute, is this old code? Is this client server? So that's sort of part one of my question. Like when I say it's mature, how does N-able position that in terms of this platform? And then part two is the branding of Cove. What does Cove represent? First talk about the code base, but then talk about the brand if you could.
But when you can support 12,000 customers and it works, that's a good thing, right? So when we say established, we support our customers. And one of the things I really enjoyed is hearing it, the stuff works. I would maybe like this feature, that feature, but it's reliable. I can count on it. And I don't need an army of people to manage this product. Mm-hmm. So that's number one. Established is a good thing when it's done right and architected well, which it is, right? The architecture we can speak to in a minute, direct to cloud, it has some unique advantages. But I would say that also from a modernization perspective, we are modern, right? So sometimes it's old code and it's like coded in COBOL type thing, and nothing against COBOL, but no, we use modern programming languages, we use modern UX frameworks, right? So the customers get the benefit of a modern data protection software with a central control plane. Again, this is something where you need one technician part-time to cover the entire job, right? So I would think that that's definitely something that I view as a positive. So we're not this new thing. And then let's talk about Cove. So Cove, yeah, great, been around. Now, why Cove? And again, it's to raise awareness to the fact that we have a very strong product, maybe to those who do not actually know that we do this, right? Mm-hmm. We have this offering and it's a very powerful offering. And Cove, yeah, of course, we did the options. We ended up on Cove and, it resembles sort of I would say a safe place where my data is protected, right? Feel the teal, right? It's got also that quality of life aspect. And that's important, right? Because when you look at traditional data protection solutions, backup solutions, you're managing storage, you're patching, you have to do your tiering, upgrades. There's a lot of work. And being able to deliver sort of a quality of life to those technicians of our partners is not trivial. It's actually really important, because one of the tailwinds is we have a skills shortage, right? So it's super important. And I think I also always associate that part with Cove, the Cove brand as well, in addition to it's a happy place, it's where your data can be protected, but it is also one where the quality of life improves.
Yeah. And Joe, what we're hearing is that when folks are using competing technology for their backup and disaster recovery, they're using maybe 3 or 4 FTEs, full-time equivalents. When they flip over to Cove, that's going down. Stefan touched on it a second ago, to half of a person, right? And so what does that mean? That means your teams, your staff can now be better doing other things, more strategic, more value add things, helping with that quality of life, but also driving your operational efficiency up. So it's a big step forward, and that's built on this cloud first technology. For me, Joe, and I want Stefan to talk a little bit more about that cloud first technology, but Cove is also a signal. We have, Stefan mentioned the number of MSPs that we have on this platform. Our MSPs have been using our backup offering for years. Some may be coming across in a decade now. So it's a tried and true technology that folks have been relying on, but we've really been only focusing it as a cross-sell motion. Once they come into RM, it's integrated with both of our RMs. And when Stefan came on board along with Chris Groot, they said, hey, John, we need to put this in the hands of every MSP, regardless if they're an RM customer or not. It's that good of a solution. It's that game changing for them. And really, so Cove is really an announcement to the market that, hey, you don't need to be an RM customer. You don't need to be an N-able RM customer. Come feel the teal, as Stefan likes to say, see the benefit that Cove gets to bring you, liberate your teams from some of the shackles, and also liberate your customers in the teams from the need of an appliance. And Stefan, again, is the better person to talk into that. But Stefan, maybe you can talk about why we don't need an appliance, how that frees up the MSP, and why that's also more secure.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. I mean, I guess people don't wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I need cloud first data protection, right? But they do wake up, you know, I hope I didn't get hit with ransomware. I hope I have the ability to recover. And, you know, I only have limited staff to do my stuff, and I really need to run a business. So ideally, I spend my time on things that make it more profitable. So for one, you know, the lines between security and data protection are blurring. We talked about endpoint detection, EDR, left of boom type technologies, but, you know, you need to, of course, have the ability to recover, right? Which is what Cove does very nicely. We'll talk a little bit about some of the features, but, you know, it also needs to be manageable. In other words, traditional backup or data protection solutions, you know, by default have this on-premise copy. It could be running on a server, storage, there's a backup server, there might be an integrated appliance, and you got to manage this stuff, right? So now you need teams or people who can do the patching, you know, install the hypervisor, manage it, and so forth. Direct to cloud really means I'm just moving the data immediately into the cloud, which is our data center, which is secure. It removes it off of the sort of the attack surface, if that makes sense, right? The malware, modern ransomware distributions are specialized in actually going after data protection infrastructure. It's a lot harder to do when that's in the cloud, it's removed. So there's a side benefit in addition to not having to manage this infrastructure, right? So now all of a sudden, what John just mentioned, 90% reduction in management effort, that's not too shabby. So you can deliver your data protection SLAs and monetize that, but you don't have the cost of management, right? So there's one, the higher profitability, you need fewer FTEs. By just moving the data straight into the cloud. Yes, we can give you a local copy, but the default direction is just move it into the cloud directly. And the second benefit is you're actually putting it out of harm's way from the bad actor. So you actually get two benefits in one. I think that would be worth highlighting.
Got it. And then talk to me a little bit about things like data sovereignty and localization of each cloud. Like, so if I'm an MSP in the US versus an MSP in Europe, Australia, et cetera, are you guys launching instances in each region so that the MSPs have that data sovereignty that they can deliver to the end customer?
Yeah, absolutely. The answer is yes. So we have 30 plus data centers worldwide for that reason. And so when you actually set up your instance, which is super easy to do, another benefit, I'm not used to being able to set up a data protection solution in 15 minutes, but that's probably just because I'm slow. And part of that process is actually to specify which region am I in. If I'm in Germany, well, the data stays in Germany, right? If I'm in Holland, the data stays in Holland, in US, so forth, right? So that data sovereignty is built into the product. Only in sort of some weird catastrophic areas where maybe a data center outage, you then have the ability to tap into another data center regionally, so to speak. But that is absolutely factored in.
Got it. Okay.
Part of the product. Yeah.
So one final question for you, and please, I'm not asking you to reveal any company secrets or roadmaps, but on the other hand, give us just a feel for, as we're recording this on June 1st, as you look out to the rest of 2022, what do you see as sort of the data protection priorities for both N-able, but also for your partner base? Where are you going here for the rest of the year?
Yeah, it's a fabulous question, right? So let's go maybe back to the tailwinds. So we know that customers are moving to the cloud first. Some are as much as cloud only, right? So SaaS workloads are disproportionately growing compared to on-premise. Take Exchange, right? I mean, it's just going out of control. Who has an Exchange server on premise? It's like, right? So that protecting SaaS workloads is key, and we're doing it from a central SaaS control plane. Again, we don't have another product, another UI for you to learn, but we can do workstation, servers, and SaaS workloads from one single control plane, right? So the question then always is, okay, M365 is an obvious in our space, but what's next? What's next after that? We just came off of an Elite event last week, and I just love the input we're getting from customers, and we're gonna work backwards from that. The second tailwind, I guess, ransomware attack, right? Every 11 seconds. So isolation, some anomaly detection, those types of algorithms, we would build on, right? So what copy has actually maybe been compromised versus not, but also these different DR options. You see, the thing is, with an appliance-based approach, you're going to be able to replicate to some other box, but then if, something hits the proverbial fan, you're going to be able to replicate back, and then hopefully that's going to work. But what if that box was actually compromised? Right. So customers really want flexibility, right? So we have this standby image concept. So I can give you a standby image onto a server or infrastructure of your choice in a location of your choice. Could be a sandbox. We got to take a security-centric approach, right? It could also be the Azure cloud as an example. Why wouldn't we not put it there? Gives you an idea how that part. So greater DR as a service capability, greater SaaS coverage, and then just keeping a very myopic focus on it's got to continue to be as easy as possible. I just love the fact that everything is managed from a central SaaS control plane, because again, we don't have enough people, right? Skill shortage, which is a third tailwind.
Yeah, that skill shortage, that one continues to bite a lot of the MSPs out there. So, but speaking of those MSPs that want to become more productive, on the one hand, I'm sure they're already familiar with the N-able.com URL, but Cove, is there a particular landing page or some place where they can go on the web to get more info?
Yeah, it's pretty sophisticated. GoCove.com. Again, GoCove.com. It's got a wonderful set of information. Start your trial again. 15 minutes up and running, and then you can actually see for yourself if you like what you see.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for the overview. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.